Z1035 with What's Up in Smith County. This is Blake Frazier with Dr. Michael Robinson, Smith County School Superintendent. If you're just joining us and are not sure what this is about, a little background. Over the last few weeks, because of shrinking budgets, school board employees have had contracts adjusted, and the rumors about 3% salary cuts, teacher layoffs, and school closings have surfaced. Also, with the snow and inclement weather we've experienced, we've heard school on Saturday, Memorial Day, and possibly Independence Day. Through a link on our Z103 website, we've invited concerned community members to ask questions. Dr. Robinson, if you're ready, let's get to them. We'll start out easy with a weather question. First question concerns makeup days, and it reads, I have been told that the school board is waiting until the weather is finished to decide how to make up the lost days. The weather may never get finished. Why not start making up some of the lost time now? When will we have a plan? When will the state let us know about a waiver?
Blake, at this point, we've missed 20 days and had numerous 2-hour delays and even some early dismissals this year. The rule pretty much at the state level, and it applies to us, is that we either have to go 180 school days or 990 school hours. And our school board policy says to try to go the 180 days as well. At this point in the year, we've missed 14. We have built into our calendar 14 makeup days. So basically there's 6 kind of floating out there that we haven't made a determination on. It's a little premature to make a determination on weather days when we're still in March and there's at least discussion from the Farmer's Almanac that we could still get the big one. But at the same time, we are starting to make plans for that. We do have built into our schedule some additional instructional time. And when we look at this, we look at it from the amount of time that students are instructional. We remove lunch, recess, that type of thing, 2-hour delays when they're not in school, to make sure that we add up to the 990 hours. We exceed the 990 hours. So the school board, myself, are considering options that may be able to use some of that, what we call bank time, that goes above the 990. If you want to follow, if the community wants to follow what we're doing so far on makeup days, we have a link on our school board webpage. It's a calendar link. It shows what day 1 all the way through day 14 are, and when those will be made up. For example, we've already added 2 weeks on to the end of the year. Right now we're at June 11th as the last day of school. We've taken 4 days at spring break. We've still left Friday and Monday at Easter, and also Memorial Day is still in the calendar. If we miss a lot more days, and the reason why we can't come up with a final plan is that we could miss more days. If we do so, we'll have to look at days like Memorial Day, extending the day. We don't have much of a desire to go on a holiday because attendance is poor. Going on Saturdays is not a good solution. Extending the year beyond June 11th isn't a great solution. Hopefully we won't have many years like this one. This was a really unusual one. We haven't had one this bad since the 70s, that we've missed this many days. But we're taking a look at trying to provide, as soon as possible, a way to let the community know that hopefully we'll be able to have an end of the school year around June the 11th. And if we were to do something, that we try to make that time up in between. But we do have a calendar that's out there and everything if parents and community members want to follow what's going on.
The school board website that you can go to that is a good tool for parents is www.scsb.org. That's scsb.org. That's where you'll find the calendar and all that other information that Dr. Robinson was speaking about. Also, we'd like to know a little bit, we have people that are concerned from time to time about how you come up with how you're going to close schools or delay schools. Let us know a little bit about that.
I'd be glad to. It's probably the toughest thing, one of the toughest things I deal with on a regular basis because the weather's not predictable in a lot of cases. We use a lot of different resources. We use the National Weather Service. We use WCYB's Dave Dirks, and they do a wonderful job of keeping us informed, but even their predictions aren't always accurate. And so we try to make the best decision we can. We've become very conscious of trying to make calls the night before whenever possible. And then if we have to make an adjustment, we do it as early as possible to try to accommodate working families that have to get child care, and we understand that. And there are days that we wish we had the call back, but there are a lot of days that we're right on the money. And ultimately, the biggest goal is to protect students and make sure that they have a safe trip to school. And a lot of folks will say, well, Washington County did this or Tazewell did this. Usually it's more Washington County and Wythe County that we hear about. We do stay in contact with them to know what they're doing, but this last week was a great example of Washington County wound up closing one day. The same weather pattern wasn't playing out in Smith County, and we decided to continue to go on a 2-hour delay, and it played out that we were right this time. And also we have a uniqueness in our county geographically. There are days where it is snowing and accumulating fiercely in the Ceres through Atkins into Sugar Grove area, and other parts of the county have nothing on the roads. And we have pictures of one of the more recent snowstorms where most of the county didn't have much, or had some, but Sugar Grove had 4 feet of drifts, and we couldn't get buses through. Cars couldn't get through. There were people stranded in the drifts. That makes it just a unique geography, especially because of the changing elevations within the county. But our ultimate goal is to protect kids and make sure that they're safe and that they have a safe travel to school, that our buses can be safely taken to school, kids that drive can do it safely. And that will always be our first priority.
Now to budget questions, including staff and salary cuts. Many of our questions submitted shared a common theme, a heavy central office staff. For the sake of time, I have pulled a couple of questions concerning the central office staff and salary questions for you to answer. Our first one, neighboring superintendents, Tazewell, Washington, City of Bristol, quoted in the local Smith County News that they were worried about cuts to school staff, aids, supplies, raises, and morale to teachers and students. The next issue of the Smith County News quoted Mike Robinson as saying he was not worried. Why? Now items are being cut.
I'm really glad to have a chance to respond to that, Blake. The original question that had come from me from the media was, do I agree that it's a doomsday budget? I'm a little too optimistic, I guess, in my personality to say that's a doomsday budget, because ultimately we're going to do what we need to do to give kids a quality education. Also, you got to know sometimes in the paper they repeat comments that you made 3 months before, or 2 months before, or a month before, and I think Dan Kegley does a great job of covering the schools and does a fair job in how he quotes us. I have expressed all along extreme concern over the budget. I don't think it's doomsday only because I think kids will still get a quality education. But it is a really rough budget session that we're in. We have tremendously the potential for a lot of revenue decrease, which then impacts what we can expend our money on. And I also find that this budget is really tough on rural and poor communities, tougher than it is on other areas, and also affects our kids that are from rural and poor communities more so than it does other areas of Virginia. And I've had great concern. I've been in Richmond twice. I've been on the phone with Richmond multitude of times, and our legislators can attest to that because I want to stand up for the kids of Smith County and for this region of the state, that we deserve the funding that we get and that we need to provide quality education. So I appreciate the opportunity to respond to it. I did say that I don't call it a doomsday budget, but at the same time I have great concerns over the budget.
Another question comes, why do we need 31 people in the school board office when Washington County, Virginia has only 19 and they service twice as many students?
I think you have to be careful how you count central office staff in all divisions. We're actually one of the I wouldn't say we're the smallest staffed, and we're not the largest staffed in the region. And we're probably somewhere in the middle. That also is about right for the size of the community that we're in. Smith County is one of the larger school divisions in Southwest Virginia. But several of our staff members, because of space issues in schools, are staffed here, but spend the majority of their day in the building. For example, some of our technology guys, school psychologists, those folks, they have an office here, but they're here maybe at the very beginning of the day, at the very end of the day, but they spend their day serving students and teachers in the community at the school level. And so it's a little misnomer to look at it strictly from that numbers perspective.
Now, this is a question about retiring teachers. Rumor has it you would like to see the teachers who can retire leave to help the budget. Cut the central office salary first because they are not in the classroom teaching SOLs and preparing students for their future. Why are so many employees at the central office?
I answered part of that about the employees of the central office in the previous question, but we have no desire to force anybody or anything else to retire. We have offered an opportunity, and that was actually based on Smith County School staff saying, when are you going to put out a retirement incentive? We hadn't done one in a few years, and so based on that, we offered that opportunity. I guess maybe some people assume that means that we want them to retire, but we've said all along, and I'll publicly say, and I've said in meetings, that we can't afford to lose everybody that has the experience. We want to have a good balance of experience, a good distribution on our salary scale of new employees as well as veteran employees. It makes for a good school system to have that. And so there's no desire on our part to force anybody or to retire. That's a personal decision that each employee has to make that's in that boat.